In the news lately have been the end or the extension of the eviction moratorium and also the coming forbearance crisis. In this video, we're going to talk about the forbearance program today and what is currently happening in real time in the real estate market. If you watch the channel, I've covered forbearance at the very beginning of the pandemic and in several other videos. And today, you're going to see the latest updates and the latest data to help you answer the question, are we going to see a wave of foreclosures coming into the market because of forbearance? Now, I want to start with a look at where the experts originally projected forbearance would lead. Originally, the experts said 30% of all mortgages would go into the forbearance program, and all of those would lead to foreclosures. That was a mind-blowing number. I mean, think about it. If 30% of all mortgages would go into foreclosure, that is why people were calling this a mortgage meltdown 2.0. Now, what we know in reality, that number topped out at 8.47% of all mortgages. And today, it's down to 3.5%. And that 3.5%, that equates to 1.86 million mortgages, as you can see in this chart. Let me stop here for a moment. Whether that number is 1 million or 100,000, these are real people that are affected by this. And it's a tragedy that we need to avoid and help find a solution to. Now, to put that into context, that's great progress from where we started with nearly 5 million mortgages in forbearance in May of last year. Definitely a swift and steady decline. Now, I want to park here for a moment and talk about what happens when a homeowner exits a forbearance plan. If you watch the channel, you've seen this before, and this is the most current data as of July 11th of this year. And what this pie graph shows is that the green and the blue sections, that's the majority of homeowners exiting the forbearance plan, and they are walking away just fine. They've either come current on their payments or they've worked out a plan with their lender, such as a loan deferral or a modification, something that they didn't have the opportunity to do in 2008. Here's a little backstory for you. During the last housing crisis, there was a push to help homeowners in distress. But the reality or behind the scenes, there was really very little that can be done to save these homeowners. The goal back then was to reach the homeowners not responding to their lenders and make contact and have them go on these loan modification trials that really a majority would either just end up short selling or getting foreclosed. This time around, it's a little bit different. If you look at this chart, what you're going to see over time is that blue section is going to continue to get a little bit larger. And that's because more people are working out plans with their lenders and keeping their homes. That's a huge difference from before. Where we may still have an issue is the red section, the homeowners that are leaving the forbearance plan without a loss mitigation plan. Now, the good news is, according to Black Knight, nearly 87% of homeowners in the forbearance plan have at least 10% equity. So what does that mean? That means that those homeowners can sell their home, protect their investment, and avoid the foreclosure process. This is the big difference from when we had the mortgage crisis. Homeowners back then, they didn't have any equity on their property. Hence all the short sales and foreclosure. This is also why a lot of homeowners were just walking away from their homes. That's huge. And the reality, experts are saying that the number of homes that could still go on foreclosure is roughly 200,000 to 300,000 mortgages. So again, our hearts go out to anyone that does end up in the foreclosure process. We never want to see that happen. However, to put that number into context, it's vastly different than where we were the last time around. The quote says between 2005 and 2014, about 9.3 million households went through foreclosure, gave up their home to the lender, or sold in distress sale. 9.3 million households. That's a tragedy, and that's something we never want to see happen again. And in reality, what we're talking about today, 200 to 300,000 homes, that is vastly different than the landscape of 9.3 million households. So I've been saying this for a long time. The data just doesn't support having a foreclosure crisis, And here's a quote from Ivy Zellman, a trusted expert in the real estate and mortgage industry that I follow. The likelihood of having a foreclosure crisis again is about 0%. Now, for those homes that do come on the market as foreclosures, they're going to be scooped up very quickly, and I believe that it won't be a bargain at all. Why? Inventory today is so low. Buyers are clamoring for homes to buy. So we won't see any massive price declines. We won't see any huge discount on the market. The data simply doesn't support it. So understand what the data is showing, and when people say we are going to see another wave of foreclosures, ask them, what data are they looking at? We got to look beyond the headlines. I want to wrap this up by showing you where the market is right now. You know, on top of the forbearance, foreclosure, and eviction moratorium news, we're seeing a lot of news articles that the housing boom is officially over. Things like home sales dropped to a new low. Home sales dropped in June as prices continue to rise. Pending home sales drop. A lot of information in the market that talks about, are we seeing a turn? And over the last couple of months, if you've watched the channel, I've covered this. So I want to give you a little perspective on that and take a look at just exactly what's happening and review the second quarter relative to buyers. I want to go over the National Association of Realtors Buyer Traffic Report. In April of 2021, you see this right here. Majority of the country very strong buyer traffic. That's the dark color. Strong buyer traffic is the light blue color. As we go into May, you see a little bit more lighter blue in the map. If we go on to June, you see a lot more lighter blue, but still stable traffic. Strong traffic still across the country, but not as strong. And look, I'm not saying we're here in a situation where we're going to see less multiple offers, but maybe not as many people competing for a home as more inventory comes back into the market. You can just see it right here as I put all three of them up on the screen. Where we come from April, May, into June, we can definitely see that there is less buyer traffic. And even the showing time data that we use is also showing a drop in buyer traffic. And the question that always comes up is this. Is this a seasonal thing? Is this something that's happening in the summer? You see the line that I've drawn here in June. We're still ahead of last summer. So before we say, gosh, the bottom is falling out and buyers have left, let's remember we're still ahead of where we were this time last year, but no doubt seeing less buyer demand. So two things here. One, is this seasonal? I think there is probably some seasonality to this year. People couldn't take vacation last year. In this year, I don't think they're going to take one. They're probably going to take 2 or 3. And when they can get out, but there's also another contributing factor at play here, and that's rising home prices. You see here as of May, the year-over-year house price appreciation. FHFA says 18%. CoreLogic says 15.4%. Case-Shiller says 16.6%. A lot of buyers right now are saying, wow, prices are going up too quickly. I'm not sure I want to continue on with this. I've talked about buyer fatigue. I've talked about all the things that are out there. My message to buyers right now would be, if buyer traffic slowed, if you're a serious buyer, now is the time. It doesn't mean that we're headed into a buyer's market now, not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that what you might encounter is less competition, but you still have to compete. Here's a quote from Lawrence Yun. He says, given that the sales activities are coming down, we may be sensing some turn in the market. We are seeing less prevalence of multiple offers, although it is still a seller's market, no doubt. Still a seller's market, but people need to be very cautious how they price their homes to attract buyers, knowing that these sales activities are declining somewhat. So a little note to sellers out there. As buyers start to dwindle and more sellers say, we can sell our home for this amount, you need to be careful. This is a time when a lot of sellers try to catch the market and, dare I say, start having unrealistic expectations. And the buyers out there, remember, you are still competing, so you won't see any price decline, let alone a crash. Check out this slide I always go to right here that shows the market that we're still clearly in a seller's market. But maybe, just maybe, off of that bottom, we're coming back. And so important to pay attention to is that we might be in the front of this real estate shift that's coming in this last part of the year. I'll end this video with one more quote from Lawrence Yun. He said, at a broad level, home prices are in no danger of declining due to the tight inventory conditions, but I do expect prices to appreciate at a slower pace by the end of the year. Ideally, the cost of a home would rise roughly in line with income growth, which is likely to happen in 2022 as more listings and new construction become available. It's a great summation of the market. No forecast right now of price decline, but appreciation to slow as we head into the second half of the year. I think that's important to remind the home buyers and home sellers as we look to the second half wrapping up this year. Here's an analogy that I would give you. Where we are in the real estate market right now, it's like flying down the freeway. Maybe Highway 5 if you're here in California. Think we're doing 75, 85, or whatever miles per hour over the speed limit, and you see an officer, a CHP up the road, and you start to slow down. Maybe you slow down to 65 miles an hour, and it feels like you're crawling, but you're actually doing the speed limit, which is normal. Where we're coming back into is a little bit more normal market. Normal rates of appreciation, normal rates or number of inventory. That's what we expect to see. Again, you'll read the housing boom is over, less buyers out there, etc. But is it a bust or are prices declining? You have to be careful about that when you are making your home buying and home selling decision. I know it's supposed to be a video on forbearance, but I think it's important for home buyers and home sellers to get an overall picture of what is going on in the market. After all, that is what all of us are seeing in the headlines. And most of the time, we don't read beyond the headlines. I'm guilty of that as well. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you on my next video. I'm Mac Rogers. Have a great day.